involving a big rig. Minor delays on the 91. In Santa Clarita, western accident 14 southbound for Golden Valley Road. Right now it's stuck in the carpool lane. We're seeing delays from Sierra Highway and in Elysian Park on the 110 northbound to Trigger Road Street. Crash there moved to the center divider, so delays are thinning out. Also had a crash in Boyle Heights. This is blocking the 5 southbound near the I-10 middle lane taken away there, so watch for sudden braking in front of you.
Did you get your free tire at Big O Tires? That's right. Now through January 29th, buy 3 select tires, get the 4th tire free with paid installation. Wet weather means slippery roads. So what are you waiting for? Buy 3 tires, get 1 free. Now at your neighborhood Big O Tires. For your nearest store, visit BigOTires.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers and Clippers meet up tonight at Crypto.com. A couple of important questions for the Clippers. Will Kawhi Leonard and Paul George play? And do the Clippers have enough defense for LeBron James? Since turning 38 on December 30th, LeBron is are looking up a little bit for the Lakers. In their last 4 games, they are 3-1 and only 1 game from qualifying for the play-in tournament. They're just 2 games away from the 6th seed in the Western Conference, currently occupied by the Clippers. And don't forget, Anthony Davis is coming back soon. Top 5 men's college basketball teams in this week's AP poll: Purdue, Alabama, Houston, Tennessee, and Kansas State. UCLA fell from 5th to 8th after Saturday's loss at Arizona. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. Stay with us for more news, opinions, and conversation on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
When you're the victim of a car accident, hiring the right law firm can be the difference between a rewarding settlement and striking it. Call the pros at MVP Accident Attorneys at 833-MVP-WINS for your free consultation.
Call on me, your MVP.
You have something special. You have greatness in you. Hello. Thrilled to be joining KBLA Talk 1580. Yes, Black History Month. It's going to be an exciting time. I'm going to be on exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580. Now listen to me. You can hear me at 11 a.m. and if you miss me then, well, you can catch me at 6 p.m. on the way home. We're going to share with you strategies and techniques on how you can begin to live your greatness, how you can begin to make the things happen in your life and live a life that matters, a life that will allow you to make a greater impact. This is your time. You were born and preserved for such a time as this. Make sure you listen exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580 in the morning at 11 a.m. and in the evening, if you miss me, on the way home. You can listen at 6 p.m. This is your time. You have something special. You have greatness in you. We're going to share with you how you can leap and grow your wings on the way down. This is your time. This is your moment. Make sure you join me. Don't you miss an episode because this is going to change your life. Yes, on KBLA Talk 1580. Oh, yes, you got to be hungry. I'll be looking for you.
If you're not listening to Tavis Smiley weekday mornings on KBLA Talk 1580, you're missing out. Everybody wants to talk to Tavis.
That's one reason, by the way, why I'm so thrilled to have this conversation with you today. The 3 people I always most hoped would interview me were Phil Donahue, Studs Terkel, and Tavis Smiley. Donahue's retired, Terkel's deceased, so this is a real thrill for me. And the reason why I have such respect for what you do is you have a historically informed conversation of depth and detail.
Be sure to tune in to Tavis Smiley weekday mornings, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on your unapologetically progressive radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
Rekia boy, say your name. Rekia boy, say your name. Rekia boy, say your name. Walton, say your name. Natasha Walton, say your name. Say your name, won't you say your name? A Tatiana Jefferson, a Tatiana Jefferson, a Tatiana Jefferson. Say your name, 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 say your name.
KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dominique DiPrima. This is First Things First on KBLA Talk 1580. I want to remind you and encourage you, you can find our podcasts, all of our podcasts, wherever you get those. And there are many, many shows worth listening to. If you missed my conversation with Imani Perry, if you missed my conversation with Don Cheadle, if you missed Tavis's conversation with the new Jack City guys, they're all, Big Daddy Kane and Tretch and all them folks. They are all up there on KBLA 1580 on our app. You can also find them on wherever you get your podcasts, and we would really appreciate you checking them out. It's all part of the process of creating momentum for the only black-owned talk radio station west of the Mississippi, black-owned and operated, unbossed, unbothered. So I'm pleased to welcome in this morning an attorney. She's the legal program director for the Know Your Rights Camp Autopsy Initiative. She's got a JD from Sandra Day O'Connor School of Law at Arizona State University and a Master's of Law in Intellectual Property as the Information Justice Fellow from the American University Washington College of Law. Attorney Nicole Martin, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for coming in. It's great to meet you. First time meeting you, we're on the mic.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy to be here, and I appreciate you reaching out to me.
Yeah, it's because I think, we talk so much about, justice, knowing your rights, and what it takes to get real accountability in real justice within our system, particularly for people of color, especially black folks. But I think the work that you're doing is not as widely known as it should be.
I agree. We are a new program. We just launched the program about a year ago in February 2022. So within this year, we've done a lot of great work, but we know that police-related deaths continue to be happening on such a large scale, and we want to continue to spread awareness that our program even exists so we can be able to serve as many families as possible.
So let's talk about what the program is. Know Your Rights Camp, most people have heard about that, but we think of it pretty narrowly. Explain what Know Your Rights Camp is, and then let's break out the Autopsy Initiative within that.
Of course. So the Know Your Rights Camp is Colin Kaepernick's nonprofit. And so Know Your Rights Camp's mission is to educate and empower the next generation of change leaders. So Know Your Rights Camp does a lot of great work. They also have youth camps as well, where they teach students their legal rights and also encompass like wellness, whether it's like mental health, having like nutritionists, using their creativity within arts, and teaching them just to be able to use their talents and to feel confident and successful within themselves. So the Know Your Rights Camp bases itself on like 10 different points, which can be found on our website. But some of them are you have the right to be healthy, you have the right to be safe, you have the right to be loved, you have the right to be educated. So really teaching the youth that they can be anything that they want and having that support system to be able to do so.
Right. So, that's a pretty big, it's a pretty big umbrella. Most of us have heard, I don't know what's going on with my voice, most of us have heard of the camp in terms of the aspect of literally knowing your rights and educating young people about what they can and cannot do. And how to protect themselves in certain kinds of situations. But the broader piece about training young leaders, and these other initiatives under that umbrella. I think I'm less familiar with those.
Yeah, so I actually helped with the legal presentation at the last camp. They've done camps all over the nation so far, but with COVID, they took kind of a step back. So 2022 in April was the most recent camp that we've had, and within that legal presentation, we talked about a lot of the constitutional issues, so going over kind of the amendments, the 4th, 5th, 6th Amendment, also teaching them in that it was in Vegas, so we had discuss the laws that are relevant there as far as what to do when there's a traffic stop, what to do when you get pulled over, what rights that you have, what information you have to give to the police. So I think there was an emphasis on what your constitutional rights are that you have, and then also making sure to incorporate what laws are relevant to you by state. So they try to make sure that whatever state they're doing the camp is, that they make the laws relevant to that state.
You're an attorney, Nicole Martin, but you're also and so I mean, and I'm a mom. I don't know if you are. You seem kind of young to be a mom.
No, but I have a great mom and what.
So I feel like there's a gap between our rights and what will let us go home alive.
Yes, I think that even when we have rights, we've seen them be abused several times. So you want to be aware of what your rights are, but also be understanding of what climate that you're in as well. And that we've seen countless times that minorities are left unprotected, oftentimes by the laws that are in place. Even when we do have our rights that are given to us, we've seen them violated in several ways, several instances, several times, and we see minorities continue to be the subject of this violation.
Right, so we have a right to wear a belt buckle or carry a phone, but if you're black and you do it, you might die. So I guess we'll talk about this when we come forward. And I want to hop to the autopsy project, but we started down this road, and we're right now, as you know, in Los Angeles, dealing with a series of police murders in the first month of the year.
Right.
So, what's the line between I know my rights and I'm going to comply even if you're violating my rights, and then call my attorney? What's the line? We'll look at that, and we'll learn about the Autopsy Project, what it is. It's a unique and important work being done by Know Your Rights Camp. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you had it up to gear with cultural and confidence. KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you looking to steer your career in a new direction? Driving for Culver City Bus can be your ticket to a long-lasting career with excellent benefits and paid training. Looking for customer service and safety-minded bus operators to join the growing Culver City Bus team, offering on-the-job training starting at $19.10 per hour, uniform allowance, and health benefits. Culver City Bus, a great employer. Let us connect you with an essential service job. If you enjoy driving, seek real opportunities for a career change, and are passionate about making a difference in the community, we invite you to join the team. Start submitting an application at culvercity.org/jobs. For more information, visit culvercitybus.com or call 310-253-6500. Again, 310-253-6500.
Before new Cascade Platinum Plus, I would pre-rinse all my dishes because my old detergent just wouldn't get them clean. But now, I do dishes differently. And no pre-wash, no rewash, money-back guaranteed kind of different. Because Cascade Platinum Plus has double the grease-fighting power of Dawn built right in, with twice the scrubbing power, giving me a clean that lets me break all the dish rules. I just scrape, load, and I'm done. Yep, so clean. With Cascade Platinum Plus, I dare to dish differently.
Dancing crew, trip for two, nail the final interview. Game with Doug, brand new mug. Come here, kid, give me a hug. The more you want to do, the more we want to do. New COVID-19 boosters designed for recent Omicron variants are now available. Learn about eligibility and schedule a free updated booster today at vaccines.gov. Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
Everyone needs health insurance, and you can sign up for a service from the state that helps you find and pay for health insurance. We work with brand name companies to offer quality plans that cover preventive care, doctor visits, emergency care, and more. You'll even be able to find out how much financial help is available for you. Many who enroll with us pay as low as $0 per month. Regardless of how much you make, you should go to coveredca.com and see how we can help you.
Cover California. This way to health insurance. Enrollment ends January 31st.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
So I'm talking with Nicole Martin. She's the legal program director for the Know Your Rights Camp Autopsy Project. And I kind of got off on a tangent talking about the Know Your Rights piece, but because it's an ongoing conversation. You know, where do your rights end and your comply to live instincts kick in, and what do you advise?
Yeah, I think that my recommendation would be, one, just to be aware of what your rights are to begin with, because I think there's going to be often a misunderstanding, I would say, as far as us not even knowing our rights to begin with. So I think that there is a lot of power in education on what your rights are. So I do think just awareness and education is very helpful, but I also do understand that education still, in the eyes of law enforcement, it might not matter. It doesn't matter necessarily what your education level is. It doesn't really matter a lot of external characteristics. It could just be if you're a minorly living today, that you could appear to be as suspicious. So, like, I'm also aware of just knowing what your rights are isn't enough when you're in these situations that can end up being, like you said, losing your life within those. So I think that you want to also be safe, I would say. So it's hard to say, in each situation is different, but oftentimes a lot of these police-related death cases occur with something minor, such as it starts as a traffic stop and then someone ends up dead, for example. And we've seen that happen kind of countless times. So I say the best thing that you can do for protection is you want to still comply with law enforcement's requests. Like, for example, different states, like some officers can order you out of the car, even if it is just a routine stop. So it's just like still knowing what those are and complying with what you have to comply with, and still being clear on making the officer aware that you know what your rights are too. Because there's the one level of knowing what they are, and then also communicating when you feel like your rights are being violated. So I think there's that portion. I think on your end to create less tension, because in that case, you're going to be in the situation of like yourself versus a law enforcement officer who can at any time say that you are a threat to their safety. And so, in knowing that often can be a defense that they rely on. If the officer feels like they're in danger for their life, they can create what that situation is, essentially. So it's also being aware that they can say that and trying to respond as calmly as you can within that scenario. But I also know that sometimes those can be unrealistic. If there's use of force being used, there's only so much that you can do. But I would say the best thing is kind of goes back to being aware, being as calm as you can within those scenarios, and complying with the requirements by law that you do have to comply with.
So, Know Your Rights Camp, famously is an initiative by Colin Kaepernick, who was in every single news cycle for a while. We don't hear about him as much anymore. It's even more important to talk about the work, because people think that just because it's not on CNN means it's not going on. Very much going on. Talk to me about the Autopsy initiative. I mean, the top line is free autopsies for police-related deaths, but what does that, drill down a little bit and explain what that means and how it came to be?
Absolutely. So what our services, we provide 3 services to the Autopsy initiative. The first service is a complete and independent autopsy by one of a board-certified pathologist on our pathologist panel. So we have our own team of forensic pathologists who perform the autopsies, and we take cases nationwide. The second requirement is a disclosure of the preliminary findings from the autopsy. And basically, when a second autopsy is performed, there's still a lack of information presented that the first medical examiner had when they completed the first autopsy. So the preliminary findings still allow the pathologist to perform a complete and thorough autopsy and to be able to say what their observations were through that autopsy. They do a complete and thorough autopsy of the entire body, the organs, tissues, everything of that. And then within 3 weeks, we mandate our pathologists to disclose those findings to the family member. What we've seen through our initiative is that the medical examiner's report, typically when the death occurs, the medical examiner or state coroner's office is who performs the first autopsy, and that's usually performed within a few days. But what we've seen in almost all of our cases is that we've been the primary source of information to the families because the autopsy report from the coroner's office or medical examiner's office can take between 6 to 8 months. So the family could be left knowing absolutely nothing besides their loved one is gone and have no information as far as what happened, how it happened, what the cause of injury was, what the stated cause of death is. So that's why we have that preliminary findings for our pathologists come in and say, look, this is what I observed. These are the wounds that I observed. These are the injuries that I saw, if any. And then once we get to our third service, which is the final autopsy report by our pathologist. So then once the family does obtain that first autopsy report from the medical examiner's or coroner's office, our pathologist then goes in and reviews the first autopsy report, reviews all the evidence, and then can then make a official determination on what the cause of death is. And then they will release a final report to that family member.
So give me an example of a case where this autopsy, was a game changer.
Yeah, so there's definitely a case that we've seen a lot of problems already that have occurred. Like we've now completed 41 autopsies.
Wow.
Yeah, which is a significant number for us, only being a program for a year, and also knowing that police-related deaths were the highest than they have ever been in 2022. So as I said kind of before, we know that this is something that keeps occurring, and it's unfortunate that we even need this program to begin with. And I think that's kind of where you got into the idea of how it came about to begin with, is what we've also seen is that can definitely be problems within the first autopsy report. That can be based off of bias. Sometimes the pathologist performing the autopsy is not objective. Sometimes the law enforcement officer who was involved in the victim's death is present while the autopsy is being performed. Sometimes there's a use of faulty forensic, just like a lack of training, lack of education on the person performing the autopsy, missing critical things. So why we created this initiative to begin with was to be a transparent source of information coming from an objective standpoint. So our pathologists that we have on our team are carefully vetted, and we emphasize the importance of objectivity. And the pathologist's goal is to find out the truth that happened. And we've seen a lot of families don't have that opportunity to really know what happened, and we've seen so many discrepancies already within the short amount of cases. So going back to one of your cases that you said was a game changer, there's one case where the first pathologist from the medical examiner's office ruled the death as a natural cause. I believe it was due to, I think they used like dehydration, pneumonia. I can't remember the exact stated, but they ruled it as something natural. And our pathologist found that the death was actually due to a strangulation, and that there were,
that's a really big difference.
Right, and significant injuries and wounds that were not listed at all within the first autopsy report. So that's one thing that we've seen. We also do take in custody cases as well. So we have on our website, we have a broad definition of what a police-related death is. So we take cases that occur, excessive use of force cases that occur like on the street cases, but we also take in custody cases as well. So we've seen cases that were like medical neglect, and while it's a detention center, jail, prison, we've done cases of that sort, use of force cases that occur there. We've seen lack of quality forensic being used. Like one of our pathologists in the second autopsy found a bullet within the second autopsy, which is never supposed to happen. Like all information should be taken out.
A bullet?
Yes.
And we missed that somehow in the first autopsy?
Right, which is already not common. We've seen another case where the family was told that an autopsy was performed and that the stated cause of death was due to a hanging. We then found out when our pathologist went to do the second autopsy that at first autopsy didn't even occur. So just blatantly lying to the families.
So they said that there was an autopsy and the person died by hanging, which I'm assuming they're saying was suicide.
Right.
And then your team went in and found there was
no
autopsy at all.
Right.
That sounds like a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's blatant errors that shouldn't occur.
Yeah, and errors is charitable.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that some of these analysis are happening inside the carceral system because we here in LA County seem to have a real problem with black men dying in custody, and it's always either natural causes, I'm putting air quotes around that, or suicide.
Right.
And yet the families are struggling to get information, and they're just not being given access to what they need, and many times those deaths are written off in the media or by authorities. Oh, suicide. Oh, natural causes, and the families feel like they never get justice.
Yeah, that definitely is something that we've routinely seen in the small amount of cases that we've done thus far.
Routinely seen inside the prison systems.
Yeah, and what we've seen within in-custody deaths as well is that there's already a lack of information in any. Law enforcement can also say, oh, the case is under investigation, we can't release any information. So that's something that they can easily say to not have to give any information at that time, and something that we've seen often within there's police-related deaths, and then a video comes out months later or something of that sort. So there's definitely not a willingness to just give information out up front, typically by law enforcement.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that. Like, how can you even have an autopsy initiative without the cooperation of authorities?
Yeah, so we don't work with law enforcement whatsoever. So how our program works is we receive autopsy requests through a request form that's located on our website. It asks for basic information, kind of the victim's name, their point of contact, a description of like what they know about the death so far, just basic kind of information of that sort. It then gets sent to our internal team who reviews the request, sees if that definition satisfies our police-related death definition, because we only do autopsies that satisfy that definition of being police-related. And then after that, if the family is then sent a series of additional screening questions for the pathologist to review. So trying to obtain like more information, basically any underlying health conditions, anything that the pathologist should be like aware of, and also just more their date of birth, date of death, things of that sort. Then if the pathologist is willing to accept the case based off of their availability, we basically choose our pathologists off of two criteria. The first is geographic location. So because we have a small team of pathologists, but we take cases nationwide, we have to often transport the victim to the pathologist's state and then back to their selected funeral home. And the reason we have to do that is each pathologist has to be licensed in the state where they perform the autopsy. And because we have a small team but take cases nationwide, it's not as often for the pathologist to be located in that state. If it is, that makes the transportation portion easier, but that's typically what we have to do. There's typically going to be a transportation.
So you're working with families, funeral homes, and not even basically bypassing the law enforcement system. If you want to find out more about this, knowyourrightscamp.com/autopsy initiative, or just go to knowyourrightscamp.com and there's a tab that says autopsy. I want to talk more about this concept. I want to talk about how you came to be involved, you personally, why this was something important to you, and impacted families. That's coming up after News, Traffic, and Sports on KBLA Talk 1580.
More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. President Biden will host Democratic congressional leaders at the White House. Here's Trey Thomas.
White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said Democratic leaders plan to discuss a range of issues as there's a looming standoff between Democrats and House Republicans over raising the debt ceiling.
When it comes to this new Congress, when it comes to moving forward to deliver for the American people,
Biden also plans to meet with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy on the issue, although the White House is yet to say when that will occur. I'm Trey Thomas.
Happy birthday greetings go out to African-American reality personality Kenya Moore, who turns 52 today. She appears on The Real Housewives of Atlanta. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Crash at Pacoima moves to the shoulder 5 northbound at the 118. That's causing delays from the 170. Hoping that will stay outbound. And in Lakewood on the 605 southbound for Carson Street. Crash in the left-hand lane causing heavy delays from South Street. In Artesia on the 91 westbound at Pioneer Boulevard. Got a crash block in the right-hand lane. That's causing slow from Carmenita. And you got a cigarette in Cerritos on that one westbound at Bloomfield Avenue. All ran closed because of big rig crash. In Long Beach on the 405 southbound. Got a crash in the ramp toward the 710 northbound. That's from Carson.
Did you get your free tire at Big O Tires? That's right. Now through January 29th, buy 3 select tires, get the 4th tire free with paid installation. Wet weather means slippery roads. So what are you waiting for? Buy 3 tires, get 1 free. Now at your neighborhood Big O Tires. For your nearest store, visit bigotires.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers and Clippers meet up tonight at Crypto.com. A couple of important questions for the Clippers. Will play? And do the Clippers have enough defense for LeBron James? Since turning 38 on December 30th, LeBron is averaging 35.1 points. So looking up a little bit for the Lakers, in their last 4 games, they are 3-1 and only 1 game from qualifying for the play-in tournament. They're just 2 games away from the 6th seed in the Western Conference, currently occupied by the Clippers. And don't forget, Anthony Davis is coming back soon. Top 5 men's college basketball teams in this week's AP poll: Purdue, Alabama, Houston, Tennessee, and Kansas State. UCLA fell from 5th to 8th after Saturday's loss at Arizona. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. Stay with us for more news, opinions, and conversation on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
When you're the victim of a car accident, hiring the right law firm can be the difference between a rewarding settlement and striking out. Call the pros at MVP Accident Attorneys at 833-MVP-WINS for your free consultation.
Call me your MVP.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, Aisha Cairo here, KBLA, live at Chase Bank on Crenshaw and Vernon for the In This Together tour with female community panels, and best of all, tips on building business from marketing to capital. I'm here with Lisa Stevens, Senior Business Consultant with Chase for Business. Lisa, what's one tip you'd give to business owners here in the Crenshaw area?
I love that you asked that question. I'm originally from Brooklyn, and I grew up in an area that's very similar to Crenshaw. So this is near and dear to my heart. And if I could only leave a business owner with one, I would tell the business owner to identify their why. And I think that is so important because your why is going to be that strength on those days where you feel like you're struggling. Your why is going to be that stepping stone. Those days that you want to give up, your why is going to be the reason that you get back up.
And how would you advise business owners looking to acquire capital? What do they need to know before stepping inside the branch to ask for funding?
So, 3 things. I do want to share this when it comes to the power of capital and just finding those resources. Understand that capital is a 3-part of a business, right? It's not always about the monetary piece, but if you first put that intellectual, right, what do I need to know? That social, what do I need to know? That will help you to then package for that monetary piece. No matter who you're banking with, you should know your banker. Never walk into a bank and you're transactional only.
It's just like Lisa to drop gems. I'm KBLA with JP Morgan Chase.
I had a nighttime routine for my frequent heartburn. I would drink milk, I would write with more pillows, but that painful burning stayed. So I made Prilosec OTC part of my morning routine. With just 1 pill each morning, Prilosec OTC prevents excess acid production, blocking heartburn day and night. Now I have a new nighttime routine. I call it sleeping.
1 pill a day, 24 hours, 0 heartburn. With Prilosec OTC. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
As a Walgreens pharmacist, I talk with people all the time about little tips and tricks for filling their Medicare prescriptions, like taking advantage of Walgreens 90-day refills to save them a trip, or using Refill by Scan, which is super easy and right on your phone. And for anybody worried about prescription costs, I say, hey, we got you, with low-cost copays on many medications.
Let's talk about making things easier. Walgreens is here. Fill your way and save at walgreens.com/Medicare. See pharmacists for restrictions and exclusions.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
And we're talking with attorney Nicole Martin. She's the legal program director for the Know Your Rights Camp Autopsy Initiative. If you're not familiar with it, you can find out more at knowyourrightscamp.com. Autopsy Initiative. It sounds like an incredible blessing for those families that need it, that have the opportunity to just go on the website and apply to get a second or in the case of the in custody case that you mentioned, a first autopsy, and get some information about the loss of the death of their loved one. Tell me how you came to this work. Why, how did you get involved, and why is this important to you?
Yeah, so I've always been very interested in the Know Your Rights camp. In 2016, when I graduated from undergrad, I wrote my senior thesis on race and consequences, an examination of police abuse in America. And so in 2016, we're just seeing a series of police-related deaths, specifically against black men and women. And so I've always been interested in doing what I could do to make some type of impact, to make some type of change within the tragedy that we're in this state. And so I followed Know Your Rights Camp since 2016, the work that they had been doing, and then a position opened up for I initially started as a legal program manager here, and it was a new position. They said, this is something we're creating. We haven't done this before, but this is the problem that we see, and this is the impact that we want to make. The first thing was that they realized how expensive autopsies can be. And I would say that they can range, but especially including transportation, can cost between the autopsy itself and transportation can cost between $10,000 and $15,000.
Wow.
So that's a large expense to put on a family member after they're already in a broken state. They don't have any answers, so it's hard to even want to go through that process to pay the money itself, and then to have to find someone that you trust, because that's another issue. The families don't know who to trust. So that's what Colin's vision wanted to be a source of trust that we could build for the families who have lost their loved one in this tragic way, and then to also be able to provide them with some relief and comfort immediately. And that's what we have tried to do through our program, is to at least be able to give them the answers that they deserve. They're already put in situations that they shouldn't be in to begin with. The least they could know is what actually happened. And so that's why they wanted to really create an objective system where we could provide this service to the family and make sure that the family also understands that we have their best interest in mind and support. So that is kind of what was presented to me. This is what we want to provide this service, but we really didn't have any blueprint. We didn't know what to do, because this is something that had never been done before. So we worked for about 7 months before we did actually launch the program. I started working with Know Your Rights Camp solely on this initiative in August 2021, and we didn't launch until February 2022. So we had a lot of things we had to make sure that we were in order, protocols, procedures, constantly revising them, conversations that we had to speak with directly with the pathologist. I had to learn about autopsies themselves. I had to learn about transportation. I had to learn that we were dealing with 50 different states' laws and regulations. So there was a lot that we had to learn, and also be able to do it with knowing what our mission was, to really be able to serve the family. So it was something that I was very interested in, directly be able to serve and assist family members who have lost their loved ones within this way.
Now, talk to me about how the family members are reacting, how this is impacting them from what you've seen.
Yeah, the family members that we have assisted have been extremely grateful for our services. People have said that we are angels, that Colin is just amazing, that they can't thank us enough, that they're indebted to us. These are just words that I remember distinctly, just saying that people feel that we've given them hope. That's a word that's commonly used, is that we feel that they have some sense of hope in this tragic moment. So the family members' feedback is actually how I base the success of our program, and because that was our initial goal. And that is something that I feel that we are accomplishing just based off of the family's needs, because that is essentially why this program is created, to help them. So that's how I'm saying the success of the program is based off of how they feel we were able. I do think that we are meeting these objectives so far and are continuing to strategize and improve every day.
Yeah, looking at this the story about a family that's suing Rob Adams' family, suing for $100 million after being fatally shot by police. A 23-year-old. The body cam show the police chasing him. They say they opened fire because they thought he was armed, as so often is the case. It turns out to be a cell phone. And this family is suing for $100 million. This family is one of the families
that we assisted. Yes,
yeah.
we provided our autopsy services in this case.
What can you tell me about that? Like how the family came to you, or how this autopsy made a difference for them?
We receive attorneys directly from referral sometimes. So anyone, as far as the request form, anyone can complete the form on behalf of, like, whether it's a friend, a family member, limit who can complete that initial request. What does have to happen to actually legally authorize the autopsy is that once the family member has been accepted, the next of kin has to legally consent to the performance of an autopsy.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so we received a request from the attorney, actually. So like it was, we do often receive requests from attorneys who are representing clients. So that's how that kind of
because they probably know about it.
Right. Yeah.
They know about it. Yeah. It's interesting because, you know, the controversy that we had in this country when Colin Kaepernick was taking a knee, which seemed like, you know, a precursor to what happened in 2020, people think it's gone away, and maybe they think, you know, that Colin Kaepernick is not involved with these issues, or his organization, your organization. The case, this particular case is a Southern California case, and from what I'm reading, this second autopsy is making a huge difference for them as they pursue justice.
Absolutely, yes. Just from the autopsies, I think, too, what I didn't realize also is just how important knowing exactly how many wounds or injuries there were, which area they came from. Now, I'm not speaking about this specific case, but in general. Like, for example, we've had cases where we find out that the family member was shot in the back, where they said that they were as they were fleeing, which is not supposed to occur. So it's really knowing kind of like the wounds, the injuries, what the pathologist can notice really does make a huge difference in determining what happened in the cause of death. And so that's why we do our best to be able to provide clear, objective data so the attorneys can then use that how they see fit, but at least they know that they're getting information about the cause of death from a trusted and objective source.
So anyone who's listening to this that knows someone who's going through this, or if you're going through it yourself, as in your family member has died due to police violence, whether they're in custody or not, they could start the process. And the fact that you guys have been in motion for 1 year and 41 autopsies have already been performed, to me that's pretty brisk pace. I mean, it sounds like from the time people apply to the time they actually get that information, what time window are we looking at?
Yeah, I would say that we are a small team in a new program. So
right.
I would say once people apply, they should still generally have a decision within 2 weeks, often sooner than that, but it depends when we have there's sometimes where we have an influx of cases going on. Maybe we have 5 going on at once. So I would say typically within 2 weeks to get a decision on acceptance, and then once it has been accepted, and coordination right away.
So it's months, not obviously not years. You've only been around for a year.
Yeah, I would say weeks is really like from the time of acceptance. So we receive the request. Typically, we can get back to the family between 7 to 14 days on whether we've been able to accept. Because within that process, we have to also do a screening on our own and make sure that it meets our definition, make sure that the pathologist is available, make sure that the family completes the additional information for the pathologist to review the case. Because when we send it to the pathologist, we have 3 criteria that have to be met. The first is that the police-related death definition has to be satisfied. The second is that the next of kin has to be able to legally consent to the autopsy. But the third factor is what takes the time is that the pathologist has to review the case to know whether a reasonable likelihood of making a determination on the true cause of death can occur. And so within that factor, they look at, I'm not a forensic expert, they look at kind of like the time that has also passed from when the family reaches out to us. That's another thing, is we try to take cases as soon as possible, like because that's when the autopsy can best reveal the most information, the closer to when the death occurred. We currently don't do like exhuming bodies, so like if the body's buried or cremated already, then we can't accept those cases. But so they go over a variety of factors to make sure that in the state that the victim is, that there can be a diagnosis that can be made. And then after that, it's really the pathologist will then share their availability, and then we just work on coordination as soon as possible with the funeral homes to be able to get the autopsy completed as soon as possible.
So from the time they're accepted to the time that autopsy is completed, it's probably months, is what I was saying, not years.
On our end, or you mean on the...
By the time the family gets the information.
Oh, from our information, that's what I was saying. So after the autopsy is completed, we get back to them with the preliminary for 3 months, within 3 weeks. I'm sorry, not 3 months.
Oh, 3 weeks.
Yeah,
wow.
so once the autopsy is done, they get something to be there. They're able to speak directly with the pathologist about and answer any questions that they had. So we get back to them within 3 weeks. The medical examiners or coroner's office, they're not getting back to the families between 6 to 8 months.
Right, but 3 weeks is pretty amazing for a preliminary result, especially for folks that have been stonewalled.
Right.
So that's amazing. We are talking with attorney Nicole Martin. She's the legal program director for the Autopsy Initiative inside of the Know Your Rights camp. I want to hear about any pushback you might be getting, and also anything that folks need to know about this project and how it's benefiting us. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
The late R&B singer Aaliyah trends on what would have been her 44th birthday earlier this month. Gone too soon. August 25th, 2001, the world was shocked to learn that Aaliyah passed away at the age of 22 in an airplane accident in the Bahamas, killing all 9 passengers on board. Now, in 2023, Black Twitter and others on the internet reflected in remembrance of the songstress, playing clips of her music, posting quotes in remembrance of Aaliyah, and simple birthday wishes. You may remember here on KBLA 15. Her boyfriend at the time of her death said this.
There hasn't been one single day that's gone by that I haven't either heard her name, seen her face, heard her music, or had someone ask me a question about her. Not one day. Not one day have I not thought about Aaliyah. I come from a circumstance that this is the life that I chose, so I don't really sit around and be like so depressed. It's not that difficult for me. You have to man up.
We miss you, Aaliyah. Gone too soon. Aisha Cairo here. That's your K-Black Minute News.
Hi, I'm Dominique DiPrima. You may think it's too early, but tax season is now. Whether you're filing individual or business taxes, there are benefits to filing your taxes. You can qualify for loans and grants, improve your credit profile, and get into compliance with the IRS. Who files early gets refunded early. And there are lots of legit ways to boost your tax refund in 2023. The tax professionals at Wealth Management Financial Advisors will find every credit and deduction you deserve, so you get your largest possible refund. I'm not kidding. You could double your refund just by filing at Wealth Management Financial Advisors. Big chain tax filing companies use a one-size-fits-all formula that leaves money on the table. Don't wait until recession or procrastination take a bite out of your budget. Book an appointment now at wealthmanagementlb.com. 427-8877. That's 562-427-8877. Visit wealthmanagementlb.com.
Everyone needs health insurance, and you can sign up for it through Cover California. It's a free service from the state that helps you find and pay for health insurance. We work with brand-name companies to offer quality plans that cover preventive care, doctor visits, emergency care, and more. You'll even be able to find out how much financial help is available for you. Many who enroll with us pay as low as $0 per month. Regardless of how much you make, you should go to coveredca.com and see how we can help you. Cover California. This way to health insurance. Enrollment ends January 31st.
We're not ratings driven. We're engagement driven. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
Talking with Nicole Martin. She's the legal program director for the Autopsy Initiative. Know Your Rights Camp. Attorney Martin, my first question here is, what about the pushback? I can't imagine law enforcement agencies and even some conservative groups are real happy about you providing free second autopsies for families impacted by police violence.
Yeah. I would say we haven't received too much public pushback to us directly. I mean, sometimes we get emails to our initiative about, not focus on black crime. We've seen, emails of those people, but, I wouldn't say that happens often. I would say that the pushback that we've received sometimes can be on the funeral home's end, on not wanting to work with us or to help us with transportation. It hasn't happened often, but we have been in a situation where the funeral home knew what our initiative was, what our purpose was, and denied us from being able to perform the autopsy there, which created another kind of burden that we were able to still find another funeral home, but I would say that there has been some pushback there, especially on the funeral home end, I would say.
Funny, we were talking about this idea of black-on-black crime earlier in the show, which to me is not a thing, and I wish people would stop saying it until you start saying white-on-white crime. I don't want to hear about black-on-black crime.
Yeah.
Because crime is crime, and people sadly hurt the ones they love or the ones they're in proximity to.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to Denise calling us from Riverside. Good morning, Denise.
Good morning. I have a quick question. What if in a situation that nervous?
Okay, take a deep breath. You're good. We were just talking about a case from Riverside. Okay, let's try that again. What about?
Actually, I'm from Riverside, but I'm dealing with a case with my sister that's in Louisiana, and she was cremated before we were able to get any information on what happened to her, how she died.
Mm.
And so I'm just trying to see what direction would I go to get any type of information.
Wow, that's tough.
Yeah, well, thank you for your question. And this is a limit of our program that I was explaining earlier, that in order to be able to perform an autopsy, they have to be able to perform a complete and thorough autopsy, being able to kind of analyze everything within the body. So once there has been a cremation, there's not an autopsy that could be performed in that case. I think the best thing in your case would do to be potentially reaching out. I'm not sure if you know if you've obtained the first medical examiner's report, but what you can do is some pathologists are willing to perform a medical legal review where they can still review and review the first autopsy report in detail to see if there's any discrepancies or concerns. So I would say in that case, an autopsy can't be performed due to the cremation, but there could still be a review of the records itself and review of the first autopsy report. So I'm not sure if you've obtained that report yet, but I think that once you do have that evidence from that report, you can still be able to reach out to pathologists to be able to review that information and see if there's any discrepancies or inconsistencies.
That's terrible, Denise. Good luck to you. And, I hope you're able to get some relief from that information. When we come forward, before we pass the mic to Tavis Smiley, Attorney Martin, I just want to know what you want to leave us with, what you want us to think about, what you want us to know about this initiative process or how we're looking at this issue, because this has certainly been an eye-opener for a lot of us, learning about the autopsy initiative of the Know Your Rights Camp and what options, what information, what resources are available to people. This is KBLA, Talk 1580.
We may be LA's newest talk station, but when you're punching above your weight, it's not about whether you can throw up. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. And we don't black down. KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for human rights. The Los Angeles Civil, Human Rights and Equity Department, or LA Civil Rights for short, is focused on reducing bias and injustices while leveling the playing field. LA Civil Rights does this through equity and empowerment, the Office of Racial Equity, hate prevention, upward mobility programming, and youth programming. They convene commissions and advisory councils. The Civil, Human Rights, and Equity Department of the City of Los Angeles is led by founding executive director Capri Maddox and is breaking new ground for municipal governance. LA Civil Rights oversees citywide initiatives, including the Renew Program, LA Repair Program, and the LA for All campaign. The LA Civil Rights Department believes that the goals of equity and inclusion for all people can be achieved through hard work and collective action. To get involved and be part of the solution, report a civil rights violation, or get more information, visit civilandhumanrights.lacity.org. That's civilandhumanrights.org. Or call 213-978-1845. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 50.
KBLA Talk 1580 is growing at a phenomenal pace, and we need to enlarge our territory. We are seeking smart, creative solution providers to join the KBLA delegation and go higher with us. If you or someone you know is interested in joining our team as a brand manager, go to our website at KBLA1580.com. Tap on employment opportunities and let us hear from you. We're not looking for everybody or just anybody, but you could be that special somebody. Come grow with us. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
And it's been a real pleasure meeting you, Attorney Nicole Martin. She is the Legal Program Director for the Autopsy Initiative within Colin Kaepernick's Know Your Rights Camp, knowyourrightscamp.com. We got a couple minutes here before we hand off to Tavis Smiley. What do you want us to know? What do you want to leave us with?
I would say, I just want to spread awareness that our program exists and that we're here to serve the families. I want the families to know, and all of you listening to know, that you can trust us with the care of your loved one, that we care about what happened, and we care about providing you the true answers that you deserve to have. The vision of why this autopsy initiative was created was because we wanted to be of service to the families that are going through this horrific process. So I know everyone is in a different stage of grief as they're going through this process, but I just want people to know that our program exists, that we're here to help, and we're here to give you the answers from a transparent and objective standpoint. And so you can learn more about our initiative on our website. Our request form is on our website. Our FAQ section, kind of just more information about what we do is there. Anyone, as we discussed before, can complete the request form. So if you know anyone who's in a situation where they recently lost a loved one, or it's your loved one due to a police-related death, please complete the autopsy request form, and then we will be getting back to you. But yeah, the work that we've done is significant for the time that we've been a program within 1 year. We have our 1 year kind of anniversary since our program launched coming up in February, where we'll be able to have more testimonials from attorneys and family members who have gone through our process. You can also follow us on social media, the Know Your Rights. We'll be posting a lot about the initiative and the work that we've done within the next month. So just so you can be more familiar about our program, that we exist, we're here, and we want to help.
Well, congratulations on the work that you're doing and the commitment that you've shown to helping families impacted by police violence.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me and taking an interest in our program and just the work that we're doing. So I really do appreciate that.
Find out more at knowyourrightscamp.com, knowyourrightscamp.com. I'll see you on social media. Yeah, I'll be up there. DiPrima Radio, I'll be up there. KBLA 1580. Tavis Smiley is up next. I'm Dominique DiPrima. History is now, and we are making it together. Until tomorrow, be safe, be well. One love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. President Biden will host Democratic